options markets affect all of this, and yeah, it's quite the story. There's one other security that doesn't get mentioned a lot. I think it's MMTLF or something like
Well,
that.
that's
If-
MMTLP.
TLP,
That,
that's
that
right.
was a
Yeah,
that
so
went all the way to Congress, man, and they still haven't done nothing about that thing.
no, and they won't do anything
No,
about it. But that's the one where they lost control. GameStop, arguably, they lost control for a few hours, but were able to regain control. In MMTLP, they actually lost control. And
FINRA. What are your
the
thoughts on FINRA, man? Because they played a big role in that. I know when AMC.
yeah, no, they were absolutely complicit
Yeah.
in defrauding the investors and the shareholders of MMTLP. And we know that because they changed the rules in the middle of the game. And I talk about this all the time, right? You do not have a free market when you can change the rules in the middle of the game. So whether we're talking about 08, 09, famously when uh, they banned short selling on financial securities, or something as as kind of minute as MMTLP, where they changed dates to enable short sellers to not have to cover on a proposed merger. Um, Look, the system is corrupt. We live in a corruptocracy, right? We're not dealing in fair and free markets. This is why I Bitcoin. By the way, long before Bitcoin, this is why I gold and silvered, right? I gave up on the financial markets after long-term capital management. Long-term capital management is one of the greatest stories that nobody talks about just because now it's 20 years old. But that story was an absolutely, I mean, living through that, and I was in options. I remember being in Ascend Technologies, making markets on the floor of the CBOE, and they were in a merger deal. I forget who they were merging with, but
It's basically the
long-term
financial
cap.
avengers. I mean, the people who invented the models that were being used to price the options themselves were sitting on the opposite side of the trade, and you're thinking, there's no way in heck these guys, of anyone, could ever step on their dick so hard that they would blow up.
Yeah, and when they blew up, they were forced because they were in liquidation. They were forced to take off arbitrage trades which they had put on in really large size. And one of them was this company Ascend that I was trading in. It was a tech company, and all of a sudden, they were in a deal to be acquired. I think it was a stock for stock deal, and that spread blew out. And it only blew out because they had to take it off. But the amount of money and the amount of disruption that took place in that pit simply because a large arbitrageur had gone belly up, and they went belly up on the basis trade in treasuries, right? But it affected so many different little niches and corners of the markets. And I said to myself, like, this is just a rigged system. The entire system is rigged. And now what we're seeing with, we talk about the quality of the buyer of US Treasuries. Well, we now know that what is $1.4 trillion of US Treasuries are held by hedge funds doing the basis trade out of the Cayman Islands. Well, I got news for you. That's the exact same trade that blew up long-term capital management, and now it's being done on a level on a $1 trillion portfolio or group of portfolios, as opposed to single billions. So the problem is now 1,000 times worse, literally 1,000 times worse, and it's going to blow up. Whenever you try to pick up pennies in front of the steamroller, eventually you sprain your ankle, and then the steamroller runs you over.
Hey, Dark. I just thought of something,
So
man. I have because we've been in this journey for quite a while, about 5 years. And when AMC they actually issued a preferred equity unit, right? That was really it was called APE. Uh, that preferred equity unit found its way into the options market. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because that was kind of interesting. The CEO of AMC actually had to call the street and tell them, hey, This preferred equity unit's not even supposed to be on the options chain. What the hell? And they had to remove it. Do you know anything about that, or
I don't follow the AMC story that
what I'll do is
excuse me, that closely.
I'll DM you the info
But
on it.
yeah, yeah, but I mean, look, I can already tell
Sure.
you that they will list options on anything they want to short. For the reason that I told you earlier, is that by listing options, that gives an exemption to the options market making concerns, which are the short sellers, right? They're doing that so that they can get around Reg SHO, right? That's the purpose for doing it. Look, we have a system that's designed from the top down, not from the bottom up. It's designed for the biggest players to be able to hurt the most people.